Okay, so hi. So next session in a Selenium WebDriver. Today we're gonna learn about writing a customized XPath, which we started it in a previous session, and also we're gonna explore how do we write customized CSS. Okay, so we also understood how do we validate when we write a customized XPath in a Chrome console or in a Chrome element tab. How do we validate it? By just doing Control F, and you can write an XPath and it highlights the element, right? And similarly in a console you can use $X and then just give your XPath, whatever XPath we have written, and then hit enter, and you should able to get an output with something like this, like length 1. So that is one way. Now similarly we're going to learn about writing a CSS. So as you know, CSS is cascaded style sheets, right? Basically those are some kind of code which gives an extra styling to your HTML, right? Now using those styling sheets or using those CSS, also we can define or locate an elements, right? Because technically speaking, CSS, what they do is, so let's say let's talk about a layman language. Necklace, where do we wear it? You will always wear it on the neck, right? So you will not wear it let's say on maybe some other area like hand or hairs, right? Similarly styling guides, styling sheets, they target a specific element of which they want to style, which they want to color, which they want to add more display functionalities, right? So CSS has a specific functionality technically to make sure the HTML looks better. Now using that CSS, we'll take help that, okay, if CSS can identify an element, why not we write a locator in a such a way that it will help us to identify element using CSS, right? So with that understanding, we'll see how we can write our own customized CSS. As you know, the browser also provides you the way when you right click on an element, you can copy the CSS locator, right? There's an easy way of doing it through browser, which you're gonna see today as well. But yes, there are some more ways to write a CSS, the customized CSS. Some of the syntaxes I'm highlighting it here. A very famous syntax is like this: tag name, attribute equal to value. If you carefully observe this one with the XPath syntax, let me go a couple of slides back. If you see here, it is kind of similar. The only difference is it doesn't have this double forward slashes, right? And it doesn't have this attribute at the rate. Yeah, so there are some small differences. Okay, you will have to keep a note of them. So here in other language, if I say, you may not find anything which we generally type using shift key, right? So it is CSS, mostly CSS syntaxes are very plain, very straightforward. So here one syntax is writing a tag name, and then in the square bracket you will write attribute equal to value. That's it. This is one way of defining your CSS. The other way, if you remember in XPath, if you don't want to give a tag name, we used to give double forward and star, right? See this? So we used to give double forward slash and star. So basically star meant to say, oh, I don't know what the tag name is, but look at all the tag names, right? That means we used to replace it with tag name with the star. But if you don't give star here, you're gonna get an error, right? If you are trying to identify an element using an XPath, then you definitely need to provide either a tag name or a star. Whereas in CSS, you do not need to provide any tag name or star. If you simply write attribute equal to value, that will also solve the purpose. It will try to find the element based on that information. Okay. That's so what these are the differences if you try to compare it with the XPath syntax. No double forward slash right here in front of the tag name, no at the rate here in front of the attribute, and no star as well, right? So with this basic understanding, let's jump back to our code and let's try to write it. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a new class under our package, and I will name it as customized CSS. Okay, and then we'll need a main method to run it. Click finish, and let me go to customize XPath. We're gonna just copy this because we will need the basic setup. Okay, let's paste, save it, and let me run this. Let it open a Facebook, and then from there on we'll try to identify. Okay, so it launched the browser and it went to facebook.com. That's it. Okay, now you know the standard way that if you want to enter something in this field, if I want to identify this element, right click, do inspect element, and then it will identify that particular tag. And if you want to directly copy the CSS, there is a ready-made method, right click and then go to copy, and using this you can copy CSS selector. Okay, see, if you copy this CSS selector, let's go back to our code. And now if I try to type this, so here I'll say copied, copy CSS from browser. And now what we want to do, driver dot find element by dot CSS, right? CSS selector, and in double quotes I'll simply copy it. So if you see, this is given by browser. Okay, hash email and dot, what I want to do, I want to send keys right there. So here I'll say this is from browser given CSS. That's it. Now this is one way. If I run this, definitely it's gonna work. Now if I want to write my own CSS, that's what we are thinking, or that's what we are learning, right? How we gonna do? So like you this is the syntax. What is the syntax? Tag name and in square bracket attribute equal to value. That's it. It as simple as that. So let me go here. So it's say, I will say customized CSS, right? 01, because there are a lot of different flavors we're gonna learn. So that's why I'm saying 01. Now again, driver dot find element by dot CSS. Okay, and then just keep double quotes, and then let's figure out what is the first name, tag name. So what is a tag name? So let's go back to our element. Now if you see here carefully, this input, what's the tag name? Input, right? Input. So how we gonna write it here? Input, and in square brackets we have to write attribute, right? Attribute equal to value. Now let's say we will select what attribute we want to use, because in this input we have a lot of attribute values, right? It has ID, it has class. If you remember, this class we generally avoid because it has a space. It's gonna give you error, right? Type equal underscore or dashes are okay? No, underscore is fine. Yeah, if it has a space. Now like here, if you see in this example, it has a space, which we do not recommend, right? See this space? If it has a space, we do not recommend it. It's gonna throw you an error. Now if you see data test ID equal to royal email, let's try this one. This looks little weird, but why not? Let's try it. Okay, this is the attribute, right? Data test ID. So what I'm gonna do here is, the syntax says just attribute equal to, in a single bracket I'm gonna give value, right? What is the value? Let's copy, royal email is the value, and then go here and provide your royal email, and then dot, I will say send keys. Oops, not here, outside dot hold on, one more closing bracket, because it you have to find out where it is closing. It will highlight like this. Okay, dot send keys, and then here I'll say this is entering, oops, I'm sorry, I will say entering using customized CSS. Okay, now before this, let's try to do one thing. Let's clear it, otherwise it's gonna append, you know that, right? Yeah. So how we're gonna do that is just identify an element, and then instead of dot send keys we will do dot clear. That's it. Okay, Now let me run this code, and then let me close the already existing browser. Let's run it. Now let's see if it works, then good. If it doesn't work, then also we'll see what's the error. Oh, cool. See, it worked so fast, right? It entered, it cleared, and then it also entered entering using customized CSS, right? Which means that attribute which we tried it worked for us. So that is the one way of writing a customized CSS. The only thing you need to make sure is syntax. Okay. So you can also use placeholder equal to email, right? Now if you see here, the value is email or phone number. So this is also going to be interesting if you want to use this attribute. So what you will use here, instead of desk data ID, you will say placeholder, which is an attribute, right? And the value is this entire whatever is in double quotes. So you will see this complete value you will give.
So when you write your custom one, it's okay if it has space in it, right?
Yeah, so value can have space, it's fine. Yeah, so here I think for this one it should be fine. Only for the class name I believe it throws an error. Let's try this one. Let me run it quickly. Okay, so it worked, right? So using this placeholder attribute and the value also, we are able to identify it. So this is the one way of writing a customized CSS using a simple syntax of tag name and in square brackets attribute equal to value. The other way is also a simple, where you don't want to mention a tag name, right? So here if I don't want to give a tag name, so just delete a tag name. So let's say I don't know what the tag name is. So next syntax says if you don't know the tag name, you can simply define attribute equal to value. That's it. That is also sufficient. So here CSS attribute is placeholder, and then so let's try something else. So instead of placeholder, let me say, why not try something.
How about the area
label? You can try that. That's also fine. Yeah. Generally, we prefer a very standard ones like name, ID, email.
Yeah.
But for our understanding, we can always explore. So let's try this one. Okay. So area label equal to, I think, email or phone number. I think it's the same value, right? Okay. So control S, save this test, and then let's close all this to avoid confusion. And then let's run this. So the first one was customize CSS using a tag name. The second one is customize CSS without tag name. Launched facebook.com, entered, cleared. Oh, what it did? Customize entering. Oh, because yeah, because we used both the methods, but it's fine. So basically it's working, right? That's what the main intention is, that both of these syntaxes are working. Thing to observe and thing to always understand is the XPath syntax is this, where you make use of the forward slash and at the rate, whereas in CSS you just remove this double forward slash and at the rate, right? And in CSS here you don't need to give double forward slash and star. That's the one thing. Now we are not only limited to these two syntax, there are some more. So let's say some more customized CSS you can write by this is if you remember, when you did a right click copy, this is what you received, right? Yeah, see this one, right? This is the one when we did right click and copy CSS selector, the browser gave us this particular syntax, which means we can also write a CSS using this syntax, correct? So the next syntax is tag name hash ID. Okay, tag name hash id. So let's try that one. So what I'm gonna go, so let me do clear. So I will do here clear, and then next is customize CSS. So here I'll say with tag name, here I'll say without tag name, and this one is 03 driver dot find element by dot CSS selector in double quotes. So the syntax is tag name hash id, right? So what's the tag name? We know already tag name is input. So let's target some other element. I don't want to do it this one. Let it clear, and then we'll click on create new account. Okay, so right click. What happened? Go back. Oh, it's not allowing me to right click there. Interesting. Okay,
You want to open anyone? Or is that...
let's see. If it doesn't allow, we'll go to web developer, then click on this. Okay. Okay, so this is the this is the button. Okay, now this is the button. Now in this button, so this is little tricky. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try first whether it is gonna identify using ID. Okay, so anchor tag is A, right? And ID is U underscore 0 underscore. I'm definitely sure it's gonna fail, but I wanna show you. Okay, so let's try hash and then ID, right? This is what the syntax is. The tag name hash ID, correct? And our ID is U underscore 0 underscore 2. So let's see. Dot, what we're gonna do? Click, right?
Yeah.
Let's say save this, and let's run this. That ID looks like dynamically generated ID, so I'm not sure whether it's gonna work, but let's see. Probably.
So you close it and open a new one, and you go back to it, you can see if it's different one, right?
Yes. Yeah. See, there is already an exception. No such element found exception. So whatever we are trying to click, it says unable to locate element using this particular XPath. This particular CSS, right? Now, if you want to know why it is, probably you will go back and then again, try to inspect on that particular element, and you will see what exactly is the ID at this stage. Probably it will be something like 0 underscore 3 or 4. I don't know. Let's see. Oh no, it is actually 0 underscore 2. But why didn't it identify? Okay, probably because of something else. We'll learn them, the parent child combinations and all. Now let's try to find out, is there any other thing which we can use to basically detect this element?
Can you use the button?
So basically the anchor tag, I wanted to cover this little. I have a separate section to explain you about the links. Yes, so the anchor tags you see here, we use a text function for that. I'll cover that. Just let's try to use something else as of now. Okay, let me again go back here, or let's try this one, login button. How about the, okay, so we can try the button, and then the ID is 0 underscore. No, this is also, yeah, this is also not, we can't rely on this.
How about the forgot password?
No, but we are trying a tag name ID, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so let me take this example again. Okay, the email, right? So let me go back, and then here input tag and then email, right? and then instead of click, again I will say send keys, and I'll say hey, I'm back. That's it, and then double quotes here. Okay, now let me close all this. So we are just trying to explore all the different type of customized CSS with which we can write. So this is the one way, right? Let's run this. So now it will clear, and then probably it should, yeah, see this. So it is entering the text in that particular text box, and this is a different way of writing a CSS. So the first way is pretty simple, tag name, and then attribute equal to value. Second is without a tag name, directly attribute equal to value in square brackets, right? And there is also a way of writing tag name hash ID. Now there is one more way which probably I may not write it again, but just by giving hash and ID, this is what the browser has given you when you right click copy it, right?
Yeah.
This is what the browser has given us. And then there is also, and this is interesting, this is tag name not class name. Okay, so this probably we may want to cover. Let's see, let's go to password this time, inspect element, or let's go to some other website. I think Facebook is getting tell me any website.
Go to
Microsoft.com. I hope they are buying TikTok. Okay, now let's try to let's try to see this one, right? Add it now. Okay, right click, inspect element. Cool, it has a lot of information. Let me expand this. Okay, now here we're gonna use class name. So if you see this class name, but this is having a lot of spaces, so this may not work in our case. What we know how to handle this, we're gonna cover that pretty soon. I will prefer something like this, this class name. If you see this class name doesn't have anything. Okay, but I can't click on this entire, so let me try something else. So how about this one? Let's say this. Okay, yeah, this looks okay. Let's see this, but I'm not sure whether this is the first instance. Okay, but let's try. So copy this one. So tag name is button, right? The syntax is the tag name dot class name. So now what we're gonna do here is driver dot get, right? We'll have to change the URL, and then we have to do driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and in double quotes we have to give button, which is a tag name dot class name. In our case, this is the class name, and then dot we have to click it. Okay, so let me grab the URL. This is the URL, and let's go here. Okay, let's see this. Let me run it. If that's the first instance with which it identifies, it's probably gonna click. Okay, done with first test, and probably it clicked or not, I don't know. What happens after once it clicks? Oh, you get box like this.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think it didn't.
I think I know why it didn't. Because the pop-up didn't pop-up came up.
No, but even though the pop-up was there, we'll still able to. But it says element this.
If you don't close that, it will let you.
Could not be scrolled into view. Okay, let me.
So earlier I was playing around with it. So when I took care of that no thanks button,
Okay.
pop up, and then I hit the search button, it worked. It found it.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. So when I did it the other way around, it wouldn't click on this.
Oh. Okay. Let me try it once again.
So you need to identify the no thanks pop checkbox and then
Okay, let's
click on that.
okay, so let me comment this code, save this, let's run this. So first test case will work, second Microsoft.com, and there it is. Okay, now this is what you wanna click. So let's go to inspect, and then let's see how we can identify this button. So I think we can try using ID, right?
Yeah, I use that. Yeah.
Okay, so come back. Clicking on no thanks. So I'll say driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and then in double quotes I have to type the button dot ID, right? Is that correct? Button dot ID? That's not correct. Button dot class name. This syntax button hash ID is the right syntax, and then dot, I'll say click, right? Okay, and then let's try the next one, which is says click on search icon, right? Okay, let's try this. Let's see if this works. So the first one is the button hash ID. That's one syntax. And then after closing that no thanks, it will try to click on the search box. Sorry, search icon. Yep, looks like it worked. But yeah, so no thanks, clicking on no thanks looks like it worked. But then exactly. Exactly. If you see, I think it clicked here, right? Looks like this section for me, this section looks highlighted, which means probably this section also has a same class. So what we're gonna do, right click, inspect. Yeah. So let's see. Let's try to understand if this section somewhere else, this section has that class, you know. So I'm little curious now what we're gonna do. Let's open the Chrome. Let me open new window. Go to Microsoft. So what this is the class name, right? Okay. Now if you wanna search whether you're writing correct XPath or not, what you gonna do? You're gonna use this particular syntax in order to search, right? How many classes are with your matching, how many elements it identifies. So on this page, so let me, after we click on no thanks, I'm gonna go to first right click, go to console, developer console. Okay, I'm an element. Now once I'm an element, I'll do Control F, just because I want to have that search icon. Okay, then double forward slash, and then I don't know whether that what that element could be, so I'll do star, right?
Yeah,
I'll say
you're not putting the tag.
exactly. So I don't know what the tag name is, right? And in the square brackets, I'll at the rate, what will say class name, right? You say class name or you say just say class? What do you say? Class equal to, yeah, and in this information you will give. Now if you see, it says 1 of 3, right? Which means it identified 3 elements with this. See this, right? And if you hover your mouse, I don't know, looks like some hidden. Okay, if I hover my mouse here, how about here? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is something something like this, right? Yeah, okay, something like, let's see the next one. click on next. See, now the next is next class looks like the class or the icon of our interest, right? And then go to next, and then this one, I don't know where this media sign is, somewhere else at the bottom looks like. So again, see this second one is our index. The first one probably the some other drop down, right? This is the one which we want, and so on. So surely the way which we are trying to identify is not clicking on this particular icon. If you want to make use of this, what we're gonna do here is let's try to go to inspect.
So you're actually reviewing right now with the word search. You're looking at that, or the actual hourglass.
Both are same, isn't it? Let me check. Isn't they have separate elements? Oh, okay. Let's click on this. Oh, then I think it's an entire button. Yeah, it is an entire button.
Yeah. Earlier I used the button ID equals to the code.
Yeah.
You can see that one works.
Yeah. So yeah, but for the class, probably we'll explore some more mechanism, okay, which is called as absolute XPaths and relative XPaths. There you will learn how do we traverse from one node to another node, okay. That is going to be an interesting exercise where you will learn that in such cases where you are not able to directly jump on your element using the class, because the first element it identifies based on this class is the not one which we want, right? Then how do we go to next? How do I jump to the next index? Correct. That is some exactly. So that is something which we're gonna learn. So here only if I try to give you an example, right? So here if I say like this, just trying to give you an example, okay? This is not the the exact representation, but I'm just trying to give an example that if I write something like this, right? So till this I'm able to come and identify some element which, even though this is of not my interest, but I'm able to come, right? Now once I'm here, then if I from here onwards, if I try to identify something, if I do / and then if I try to write something, so let's say div and then the second element from that, with that we will able to jump forward, or we will able to go from that element to some more elements down the line, okay. Don't worry, we will learn that. These are little complex way, but yes, we
more filtering it out, trying to get to it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so those are some more mechanisms with which we're gonna try to identify. Now let me go back. I think the class name, but you understood, right? Or what is the one more way of identifying a CSS, which is a tag name dot class name, okay. Now let's try to understand using a regular expression, okay. This is also an important syntax for a CSS and an XPath. In an XPath, if you don't want to use whatever we have learned so far, like using tag name @ generally, if you remember, we do not use contains, right? In square brackets we use @ attribute equal to value, right? Equal to value. So that is one way. But if you think the value is keep on changing, okay, if there is only a portion of value which is constant, if you use the previous syntax equal to value, if I simply go back, if you use this syntax, which means you are expecting value to be static all the time, right? Because it is clearly checking equal to, let's say the attribute is say discount, and here it says 20%, okay, just an example. So which means you are trying to check the tag name with discount equal to 20%, right? Or let's say sale, it says sale 20%, okay, but that may change. It says sale 25%, it may say sale 30%, it may say sale 40%, right? So this equal to may not work all the time. So in such cases we can use something called as contain functions, okay. So here what we will do, again the same story in the same syntax, tag name, But now directly writing @attribute equal to value, what we're going to do using content function, we're going to say the first parameter in this function is which attribute, which we'll say okay at this attribute, and then what is the value. So if you give that value as just a sale word, right, then it will try to identify it even if it is changing dynamically. Okay, so let's do a quick practice on this. Now we are already on the Microsoft, so let's continue from here. So what I'll say here, XPath using customized or a regular, it is not regular expression, but using content function. Okay, so driver dot find element by dot, now XPath, we are back on XPath, right? And in double quotes, what's the syntax? First is a tag name, right? Let's see what we want to do. Let me close all this process. Okay, so now let me think what we can do. Okay, what happens if we click on office? Okay, it changes the page. Let me go back, and then we'll try to click on office. So let's inspect this office. Okay, cool. Now so we want to identify which attribute we are interested to use. Okay, so you see it has an attribute of ID. It says shell menu underscore 1, right? Now this is interesting. So shell menu underscore 1, if I try to use shell menu underscore, right, probably it may also find this. So let me try to see this. See this also has an ID shell menu underscore 0, right? It has a 0. Now this one has a 1, this one has 2, the 3, 4, 5, right? So if I try to use contents, and if I try to use attribute as ID and value as shell menu underscore, right, it will jump on this particular first, because this is the first possible result, right, which it will get based on the syntax we are providing. It will try to click here but not here, right? So definitely that ID may not work. So let's try to see something else. So how about the class one? So class says C UHF NUV link. Again, I'm not sure whether this class and the one above it has the same class. So see this, they both share the same class. Can you see this, right? They both share the same class. So probably this also may not work. Now yeah, now how about the next one? And then there is one more called as, no, these are something else. Okay, so in this case surely you do not have anything which you wanna provide, but let's try it in this way. Okay, so
what do you do? You're gonna give it the exact.
yes,
We're
yeah,
not really using that.
yeah, this in this example we don't need it, you know. But let's try something else. I'm trying to understand if you get any matching element, but surely in this example you do not need of using content, because you have the index available, right? But you can always use the complete ID just for a practice. That's what I'm gonna see. So here we're gonna use shell menu underscore 01, and then let's go back. So what's the syntax? /, right? And then what's the tag name here? It's a anchor, right? A.
So we're not
And
using
no, we are using contents. Yes, we are using contents, and the content is a function. The first is attribute, which is ID, right? Equal to, are we using equal to? No, because we are exactly, because we are using two parameters, right? And then this is the parameter, right? Even though we are giving an exact value, it should still work because it contains, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matches error, right?
Yes, and then dot, I will say click, right? Okay, so save this now. Oh, and let's try to run this, and let's see whether this particular syntax works for us. Oh, it's gonna start from Facebook. Okay. Okay. It looks like something failed. Yep. Let's see. Element not interactable. Okay. So whatever that no action item close, I think could not scroll to a view. Probably there is something. Click no thanks. This is what I think it is not able. This is the synchronization issue. I'll cover on this later on. Let's save this.
Yeah, you know what? when I run into those, just to continue on testing on what I'm targeting on, I keep on putting the seed,
Yeah, so that we're gonna cover in a separate chapter.
Yeah.
Where we'll understand how to address this. Yep. That's a good good. Oh, you already clicked, I think, because after clicking on that office, you come on this page. Is that right? Yes, I think we didn't observe that pretty quickly. But if I see this back page, yeah, after you are clicking on office only, you are coming on this page. So this is what it's. So this particular syntax is surely working for us, right? So now let me open this. Yeah, there is no exception, and that particular icon, which was office, has clicked on it. Now if I simply remove this, okay, now I simply did shell menu underscore. Okay, so if I simply give this, what will probably happen? Let's try to see that. Probably it will click on the first possible element. Yes, it finds, and I think that's something Microsoft tab, right? Let's see that. I think it's happening so quick. We need to observe it. And then here it is, Microsoft page, and yes, I think it clicked on it, right? Yeah, so it clicked on that, and that's why it came here. So this syntax is surely working for us, which is contents, right? I think the best possible usage of this is not what we are looking at, but something which is keep on changing, right? So let me go to amazon.com. Probably they'll have a lot of sale and all these things, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so if I am on amazon.com, okay, let's see this. Right click, inspect element. I think, but this is not clickable. Okay, today's deal you can try to find out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so yeah, so let's see. Now here again, this this I'll. So this is probably the next topic which I wanted to cover. I know the link text, but okay, let's cover this. So this is an anchor element, right?
Yeah.
So anchor element is basically all the links on your HTML will be displayed by this tag A. Okay, anchor. Now what happen if you want to identify such anchor elements or link elements? It is sometimes very difficult because they will not have any unique attribute values. Like if you see here, they'll probably have they'll probably have the href links, probably the links which after you click what it have, but this is called as inner HTML or inner text, right? So this is the particular text which you can identify, and based on that you can perform a click operation on it. So let me jump my couple of slides, and this is what. Okay, so if you see this, if you just need to provide a tag name, in our case we'll have an anchor A, right? And then like we used content, we can also use a text method where we'll say, hey, can you please help me identify an anchor tag with the display text as this, right? So with that also we'll able to directly go ahead and click. So what, so driver dot find element by dot XPath, right? And then in double quotes, what's the syntax? First is a tag name, right? In our case, which is A, and in double quotes, what we are saying? Text. Text is the method. Uh-oh. Oops. Okay, double quotes, and then tag name, then in, and then equal to, in brackets, whatever the text we have, right? So tag name text method equal to display text, right? This is one method. Or like we were studying earlier, contents. You can also use contents. There we were passing attribute, but here instead of passing attribute, you can say method inside method. So inside content, you are saying, hey, if you have text which is equivalent to display text, you know, that also you can do. So let's try to do it this way first. So here I'm saying text equal to today's still, and what we're gonna do, dot click, right? Oops, I think I need to close one more and then dot click on it. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The syntax are very close to each other, you know. A lot of those syntaxes, they look pretty similar, but with more practice, and at least for next couple of months, I would recommend you to print all the syntaxes on the page or write it with your hand and stick it in front of you, you know? Yeah, so that is gonna help you, because when you are learning these syntaxes, probably you may not remember all the different varieties, right? So you're gonna write all the syntaxes like, okay, these are the different types of identifying X paths, because the straightforward you can anyway remember: by dot id, by dot name, partial text, link text, right? And simple XPath and CSS, which the browser gives you, that also you remember. What's these are the different flavors which we are learning, is probably what you wanna write it on a paper and put it in front of you. Okay, we call it information radiator. We call it as that kind of information radiators should be there all the time. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Okay, so I'm gonna comment all this thing. We don't want to go to Microsoft anymore. So comment this. Yeah, they are not giving any deal to us, so I'm not going there. Dot get. Here probably we'll go to https://www.amazon.com, right? Okay, and okay, let's run this. So if it is able to find out that today's deal, it will try to click on it. Uh-oh. Okay, looks like Amazon is pretty smart to understand that there is a robot here. Okay. Is that because we didn't keep? I think that was correct. Okay, let's try this. I think the forward slash was missing. I think it is detecting that there is some driver is controlling the browser. Let's see. I think yeah. Doesn't like it. Anyway, yeah. Because you know, here itself it says robot check. You see this on the top? Yeah. So, but yeah, here it understood that, you know, some other automation is trying to control it. But anyway, if I just want to be on the Facebook and click on forgot account, right? This is also, I think, anchor element. So let's take an example of this one. Yeah, this is also an anchor element, right? So if I simply give forgot account question mark, then also it should work. So I'll say, okay, I'm happy with my Facebook. Now here, instead of text, I will give this forgot account, I think question mark. I need to give exact if I'm not using content, okay? And then what we're gonna do here, the next thing is, once I click on forget account, what we'll see if we have any more. There's one more, but I think it will go back to the same page, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Then I'm probably gonna click on something called as, okay, let's try to identify this. Yeah, so the next thing is we'll try to identify this link based on this text, right? I'll only use France, okay? I'll only use the subset because we are planning that once I'm on this page, I'll use find element by dot XPath, right? And then here in double quotes, we'll use the next syntax, which is contents, you know, this one, which is content. And in that method, we are passing text and then comma display text, right? That can be a partial one. So here, let's see. The first is a tag name, and here in this, we'll say contains, right? Then the brackets for method, and the first is text, comma, and then in double quotes, sorry, single quote. Here we are only giving a subset, right? Which is France. And now here I'm saying dot click. Are you getting this? So these are the two different ways to identify element, right? To identify link, I would say, or I would say anchor element, right? The first one is using text, but here the only limitation is you need to give exact text, right? It can be anywhere on the page. It will try to identify that text and click on it. The other way is you can use the content method. In that content method, you can say, okay, try to find out text which is of this type, right? Then there are numerous ways with which you can do this, okay? So let me run this and let's see. So we are expecting it to click on first forget account, and once it is on forget account page, there it will click on the France. Something wrong. Okay, looks like there is something wrong. What it is? No such element found. Text equal to forget account. Okay, looks like it is not able to find it with this particular information. Did we mess up? What is that? Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to check. I don't think we messed it up. Okay, what we're gonna do, right? I think I didn't copy it correctly, maybe. I don't know.
Is it an uppercase password? Oh, for that account, sorry.
No, for the let's.
Lowercase.
Okay.
I think copy.
Let me copy. Yep, it's exactly same.
So it is anchor.
Tag name and then text equal to display text. I think. Okay, let me run it again. I don't know whether.
So do we use the XPath or the CSS?
Okay, you know what? We're gonna try this. Let me run. Oops, sorry. Okay, I think yeah, I understood what is the mistake. We didn't give this correct syntax. I'll tell you why. So in XPath, you need to give //
Yeah.
Right.
CSS selector or the expert.
Right. So this is what it is missing. So now let me run it once again. Okay, a lot of browsers are getting piled up.
Yeah.
So I hope it will work this time. Yeah, you see, it clicked on forget password, and I think it also clicked on see this wonderful language, which I don't understand, but yeah. Okay, so looks like all these things are working. Okay, now you need to practice. There are a lot of different ways to identify which we are learning. Okay, now I'll quickly recap them, and we'll also see a quick difference. The next session is going to be again crucial, where we'll understand how to traverse between parent child elements. Okay, how to go forward and how to also travel back. These are very interview questions also, right? Sometimes interviewer will give you a sample HTML structure, and he'll intentionally will give you the HTML structure which doesn't have obvious attribute values to be used. They'll have a class name with lot of spaces and special character. He may not have ID, he may not have name, he may not have anything, and he'll say, okay, I want to identify a specific element in this particular hierarchy. How you gonna do that? Write a locator for me. Use whatever locator you want. Try to write a code which will help me identify this particular element. So in that case, you are expected to write some kind of traversing mechanisms, because in those scenarios we may not have a XPath or a CSS selectors which will help you identify that element directly. You know what I mean? Because that element may not have sufficient information on its own. But in that case, what we're gonna do is we'll look up its parent or maybe its siblings, and we will go till the point where we find an element which has some static attribute values or which has some definitions with which we'll able to identify. Once we identify that element, then we will traverse it back till we reach the desired element. So those are some complex interview questions and a complex scenario which we'll cover. But before we reach that, we need to understand how the parent-child structure works and how the traverse mechanism works. Okay, so that I'm gonna cover in a next session. But yes, a quick recap about whatever we have learned today. The customized CSS, the syntax is tag name attribute equal to value, right? And then you can also use attribute equal to value, no /, no @ no star, which generally use in XPath, right? And then if you want to use contain methods for XPath, // tag name contains. Contain is a method, that's why you need to pass two values divided by comma. So the first parameter is @attribute and second is the value, right? Similarly in CSS, I think I didn't cover this, but yes, this is also which will behave like a contains. So here the only difference is you will give star mark here. Okay, so in a CSS you give tag name, and inside the tag name you provide attribute star equal to value, so it will act like a regular expression. This is a regular expression. Okay, so this value may not be complete. If you, like we discussed, sale is 20%, sale is 30%, right? So in that cases you can only provide the value as sale, right? But it has to be CSS locator, right? So this is the another example to identify using a CSS. Now let's quickly do, I created this table just to understand better. So customized XPath and CSS, what are the differences? So I try to include all the different XPaths and CSS we have learned so far. So with tag name, this is the syntax, right? // tag name @attribute equal to value. Whereas in CSS, we remove the tag name. So it's a tag name attribute equal to value. What's the difference? We don't have this // and @ right? The without tag name. Here, if we don't use a tag name, we give a star. Here, we don't give any tag name, right? That's the difference. Now we have some more ways with which we can identify CSS. There is nothing like that in XPath, which is directly tag name hash ID, right? And then tag name dot class name. These are two extra ways with which you can identify CSS. Using CSS, you can identify element. Now regular expression. In regular expression, in XPath you use contains, right? At the rate attribute equal to value. Whereas in CSS, you use this star, attribute star equal to value, correct? It will act as a regular expression. Now, how do we validate whether our XPath or a CSS locator is correct? Using a console, the function $x. Yes, and whatever XPath you write based on all this above, you just provide that XPath in double quotes and hit enter. Similarly, if you want to identify using XPath, you do not need to provide X, just dollar, and in the yes, and whatever the XPath you write using a CSS, just provide that XPath and enter. Okay. And we also discussed about how do we identify a link. So generally, link can be identified using these two different combinations. Either the anchor text, tag name, text equal to display text, whatever the display text you have. Like for example, here new to Flipkart, you have this particular new to Flipkart, right? Or you can also use the content, correct? So these are the some ways with which we can identify XPath and CSS. You'll have to do a lot of practice. Practice is the key for this. The more and more practice you do, the more and more questions and challenges and different type of elements you will encounter, right? And that's yeah, exactly. So you will learn with the more and more practice. The next session is going to be interesting, where we will learn about the parent child elements. Okay. And how do we traverse from parent to child forward. There are very challenging where you need to also travel it back, and among siblings and so forth. Okay, so we will cover that in upcoming sessions. Cool. See you then. Thank you.